Hi guys, welcome back. So, this is the third episode of my thinking and gathering on what the Wall Street sees in NIO and we don't. At the beginning of 2020 last year, at first, I was just like everyone else. I saw NIO as one of the new EV brands who was slightly earlier than the rest of the other players and targeting a more high-end market, but not too much special. Probably like what everyone else thought at that time. So I started to invest in NIO when it was $3 because I thought the risk-reward ratio was quite good, even though at that time the market sentiment to NIO was quite negative, and a lot of people were afraid that NIO would go bankrupt. But then later on, after I put all my research and analysis together, I started to realize something quite important, something I think that would be crucial to the positioning of NIO and how it aligns with the strategic plan of the Chinese government. So that was why I bought heavier on NIO shares from 10 to 16, even though most of the institutions and analysts said that NIO was quite overvalued already. So in this episode, I would address what I realized for the future 5 to 10 years of NIO and why the government is giving NIO the unconditional support. At the beginning of 2020, NIO stayed beaten down for a few reasons. First, there was the battery accident. Then, the cash balance was in danger. And then, another kick of the Chinese government policy change. We all know that the Chinese government give out good subsidy plan for everyone to purchase electric cars. But suddenly, a black swan came that they changed the policy and stopped giving subsidy for all the electric cars above 300,000 RMB, which all of NIO's models price range were at. So that would be a black swan news for NIO. All of these happen one after the other. So at that time, the market sentiment towards NIO was quite negative, and the media wrote NIO has no future. And then the turning point came. First of all, the Hefei government gave a loan of $1 billion, and right away it had helped NIO walk out of this risk of bankruptcy and had a chance for rebirth. Second of all, the details of the change of subsidy plan came out with the most important bracket information. It says the government does not offer subsidy for electric cars more than 300,000 RMB except battery swap model cars. So when I saw this, it had immediately grabbed my attention. I started to dig deeper into why, because this bracket information said a lot already. And we know that this exception is practically written for NIO. So this was when I started to dig deeper into why and form my belief on NIO to differentiate NIO from the rest of the other competition. And then later, they announced the cooperation to build more battery swap stations along the major highways in China with the Chinese government. In January, NIO had announced the Blue Point Plan, making NIO the first car brand that can claim carbon credits for their customers, and NIO users can get NIO points in return to spend on NIO Life products or services. This is another way to help NIO, adding more source of income from the government. So all of these together just more and more confirm my belief, and I think more and more support and cooperations would come in the future. Now, in order to know why NIO is different than all the other EV players, we really need to know the reasons why the government gives so much support for NIO. Here I have summarized into 4 major reasons, and they are what I believe crucial information for the future of NIO. Reason number 1, the battery swap model. A lot of us are aware that the majority of Chinese people live in a condo or apartment because of the population density. So it looks like the battery swap stations, it's mainly designed and adapted for the Chinese market 100% to begin with, to solve the difficulties of home charging. But other than this, battery swap on the highway is extra important as well. To be able to swap to the fully charged battery in 3 minutes instead of waiting for an hour for the cars to be charged. It solves the problem of anxiety on the road, as most people have the anxiety of running out of miles in any long-distance trips, and it becomes the barrier for a lot of people to start trying electric cars. The battery swap model also increases the efficiency of traveling between different cities and also logistic for businesses. So, to begin with, this model was designed to help solve a big issue for the Chinese market in terms of electric cars usage. And therefore, the Chinese government would appreciate this adaptation for the Chinese market and the innovation of the technology instead of copying everything from the other countries without fitting the local culture. And reason number 2, the Chinese car dreams. China has the Chinese car dreams for many years already, decades. The government had always wanted to catch up on the technology and catch up to the German, the Japanese, the American cars. I know a lot of people that work in the major Chinese car companies. And back in 2014 and 2015, the government had big plans on releasing the new Chinese car models to the world. We saw many new Chinese car models released in the international auto shows. But then, later, the plan had been more silent. I didn't know why then, but I realized it later. I think it's that they know they have been behind on the traditional ICE cars for decades already. So instead of trying to catch up on what they have been behind for years, why don't they aim to be the leader of the new sector, which is the new EV sector? This is the strategy called 弯道超车, overtaking at the turning point. So once they have realized the whole world would be revolutionized in the next 10 years, to transit from the traditional ICE cars to electric cars, they have shifted the big strategy of the Chinese car dreams and focus on the new EV sector to aim to be the leader of the world for new technology. This is also why the government had been giving exceptions, turning on all the green lights for Tesla to enter China, because they need Tesla very much to help shape and refine the whole supply chain of the EV industry. Supply chain is one of the most difficult infrastructure to build, something that usually takes years to be mature, because it's not just 1 or 2 biggest manufacturers that can solve the issue of quality, but it's a lot of leading manufacturers and their suppliers and the suppliers of the suppliers, etc., and how each party manage the quality control and efficiency of their own suppliers to ensure every small part of the whole process stay tuned and keep precise quality with the most production efficiency. This is shaping and refining the whole supply chain. So Tesla is now shaping the supply chain of the EV sectors in China, just like what Apple did for the whole smartphone supply chain in China for years. And now, China has the most mature manufacturing supply chain for smartphones. And that is why smartphones brands like Xiaomi, Huawei, Vivo could grow so fast in the last few years. The infrastructure has been built already. The manufacturers, the users have it. etc., were all mature because of the help from big brands like Apple. So the fact that China is making so many exceptions for Tesla, so many green lights, just shows how much the government is supporting the Chinese EV brands, just shows the ambition of China to achieve the international car dream on electric cars. So instead of trying hard to catch up, they aim to be the leader of the new sector. It was around 2014 to 2015 when they altered their plan, and it was exactly around the time NIO was founded. And I think they might have been planning this since the beginning of NIO, and NIO had always been considered to be one of the key parts in the big plan, the big strategy. The government wants to be the leader in this sector. They want Chinese cars to be driven everywhere in the world, and it's gonna be electric cars. Reason number 3, the NIO ecosystem. Other than the adaptation of the Chinese residential situation, I think there is more reasons behind why the Chinese government makes an exception of the subsidy for the battery swap cars. Remember in many videos about LKCO, I have described the smart city strategy from the government. In the future, we will be living in a very smart environment, a very smart ecosystem. And I think the battery swap station is one of the elements in the big plan of the smart city that the Chinese government is building for the future 5 to 10 years, where battery swap stations will be built in every 5 to 10 minutes circle in most of the cities. And cars can drive themselves to be swapped on their own, days and nights, in line by themselves, swapped by themselves, without people's command, to truly achieve the smart living environment. It would be very useful for the robo-taxi concept as well in the future. Because while we are sleeping or working or resting at home, our cars can be outside driving and working as a taxi, generating income for the car owners. And we would need the cars to be able to swap batteries on their own. In my past videos about NIO, I have analyzed several times that NIO is building this iOS system, how difficult it was to build, and how important it is, as this is NIO's unique business model, a strong moat, and it might be the same for the government. They are also building their own iOS system, and it's the smart city system. Everything would be highly integrated together, and they come in as a whole package. A lot of the new technology, the EV, the autonomous drive, the drone, the smart logistic, smart traffic, new retail, smart health, AR technology, etc., would be highly integrated together to give people the most smart living environment in the future, where everything would work seamlessly all together. This is indeed like an iOS system, very fluid, very smart, and very integrated. And I believe the whole smart city would be carried out, would be expanded by the One Belt, One Road project, the biggest project and the most important strategy for the Chinese government until the year of 2049. Basically, the One Belt, One Road project means the Chinese government would be giving out huge loans to a lot of the countries from Asia to Europe and to Africa, and help them build a lot of local infrastructure, such as airports, railroads, and train stations, highways, etc., and then allow these countries to slowly pay back with the income generated by this infrastructure in order to achieve seamless travel, smart logistic, smart traffic with the bigger part of the world. So we know that battery swap system needs massive amount of infrastructure built because, of course, building so many battery swap stations require heavy infrastructure. But so would be all the other things in the smart city ecosystem. Think about it. If they need to help these countries build many highways, airports, and train stations, then why don't they include battery swap stations as part of the blueprint of the projects to begin with, right? So I believe battery swap stations would be included and carried out by the smart city plan, and it might be one of the elements included in the whole iOS system and would be able to expand to the whole world by the heavy infrastructure built by this One Belt, One Road project. And this, to me, might just be the much deeper reason on why the Chinese government is giving out exception for the subsidy to support the battery swap station model. And then, reason number 4, last but not least, most importantly, I believe what NIO and the government share the most in common, it is that they are both number 2 that want to become number 1. This had actually happened many times in history. Think about all the electric hardware technology developed in Europe near a century ago. Think about many software technology developed in the US decades ago. They had incubated many giants in the past, such as Philips, such as Microsoft. We can go on and on for examples. Now, think about many of the future new techs in China in the 2020s for EV and for drones, for example. This is when the infrastructure, the supply chain, the talent, the government policy, the market, the consumer's behavior, all coming into the prime time at the same time. The Chinese government will make sure everything works as a whole. There is a saying, 一荣俱荣,一损俱损. This is good to describe a lot of the new tech. In the Chinese economy, everything would either succeed or fail as a whole. So we cannot underestimate the power when everything coming together with such ambition. This is what happens when the vision of a company aligns with the strategy of the country. Everything would become much bigger scale and much more powerful. So from the 4 major reasons I have analyzed above, I believe it is no wonder why the Chinese government is giving so much support for NIO, one after the other. This have strongly enhanced my belief on NIO as a high reward investment and as a brand I want to support personally. So even though NIO had been beaten down recently, my conviction had never changed. And based on all these reasons, I believe our baby NIO is now a baby but will be the future giant in a matter of time. So this is the 3rd episode of my thinking and gathering of what I think the Wall Street sees in NIO and we don't. Hope you can find this information helpful. And if you have enjoyed this video, please give me a big like and write me a great comment. And I will see you tomorrow. That's it, guys. Hope you can find my videos helpful. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and give me a big like. Thank you.